It's the ultimate travel guide from the people who know it best. Weekends with Yankee. In Maine, there's no shortage of lobster rolls. But there's one restaurant that stands out from the rest, and not just on a pier in Portland. Luke's Lobster has found a way to serve this Maine coastal specialty in over 30 locations around the U.S. and abroad.
It has definitely been fast growth for us. It is about keeping it simple. You know, we don't have a vast and complicated process in our shacks. All of the complexity is really focused here in Maine in how we deal with fishermen and how we perfect the process of seafood production. So we're out at the end of Portland Pier. We buy directly from our lobstermen, and you can look through the window in the restaurant and see the tank room and see that happen. This opportunity with Portland Pier allowed us to not only renovate a dilapidated pier where people had basically stopped fishing and return some of Portland's waterfront to its working status, which is so important to the economy, but it's also then allowed us to shine a light for guests, either local or visitors from all over the world, on how the lobster industry operates. The Maine lobster industry is one of the most sustainable fisheries in the world. It's very strictly managed with rules that actually came from the fishermen themselves and are now codified as law. But that starts with protecting breeding lobsters. So a lobster that's too small can't be kept because it's going to not have had a chance to breed yet. The oversized lobsters also get thrown back because a large lobster is actually exponentially more reproductive than a small one. They also not only throw back any female that's caught bearing eggs, but they also mark that female's tail so that if she's caught later in life, she's marked as a successful breeder. And that ends up resulting in basically 3 out of every 4 out of every 5 lobsters being thrown back when they're caught in a trap. So there are a whole range of sustainability regulations in the lobster business that frankly just don't exist in a lot of other fisheries, and that prevents overfishing and allows that population to flourish. The way to prepare a lobster roll is actually very simple. The thing that most people do wrong is they take the lobster and they mix it with all these other ingredients that sort of take away from its flavor. But when you have perfect lobster meat to begin with, you don't want to mix it with anything. You don't want to cover it up. So what we do is we take a New England style split top bun, which means the sides are shaved off, and we butter the outside. We put it on a griddle so it's nice and warm and toasted. We'll put a tiny bit of mayonnaise on the inside of the bun. We'll then pile in a 1/4 pound of that beautiful lobster meat. And then we drizzle a little bit of lemon butter on top, and we shake a tiny bit of secret seasoning blend that we create in-house. That's it. It's not lobster salad. It's not anything other than just the lobster as the star of the show. So in a given year, we're usually buying and processing around 5 million pounds of lobster. And that's going to end up translating to, across the company in the US right now, selling about 4,000 lobster rolls on an average day, and maybe another 1,000 abroad.
From the various buy stations, the lobsters head to Saco, Maine, 15 miles south of Portland, where Luke's Lobster processes about 75% of the lobsters they sell worldwide. They keep the processing room as sterile as possible, so workers wear protective gear and wash up before entering.
So the lobster we're cooking here today came from a few different harbors up and down the coast of Maine, including Portland, but also including Tennant's Harbor, Cranberry Island, Friendship, Port Clyde, and more. The lobster that we're cooking right now was caught yesterday afternoon, is going to get shipped down to the restaurants tomorrow, and it'll be in a lobster roll the next day. So today is a bit of a light day here. We're processing about 25,000 pounds of lobster today, which is somewhere between 15 and 20,000 whole lobsters. Inside the room, we keep it below 50 degrees, and that's really important because the quality of that lobster meat is going to be preserved best by making sure it's in a cool environment during the time that it's getting picked and packed. We're starting our process here at the picking tables. This is where the knuckles and claws that just got cooked and chilled down get dumped on the table. And this team of expert pickers goes through and extracts the meat in whole chunks that's eventually going to make its way into the lobster rolls. They use a variety of tools, but it's really just about working with your hands and knowing exactly how to break off the shell so that you expose the meat and you don't get any of that shell in there in the process. On the table to my left here, we are inspecting every piece of lobster meat that's come through the picking line to make sure that no cartilage, no shell, and no foreign objects are in that lobster meat so that it's perfect when it gets packed up and sent to the restaurants. Now we're coming to the packing table. This is where we take all that perfect lobster meat that's just been inspected. Right here, these are 2-pound bags that will be liquid nitrogen frozen to go into wholesale accounts. The liquid nitrogen tunnel takes the lobster from about 40 degrees down to -15 in less than 15 minutes. Freezing it that fast means that the ice crystals that form in the meat are much smaller. So once it's thawed, it won't disrupt the tissue of that lobster meat at all. We cook the bodies and legs of the lobster. We don't waste anything. The legs are going to get cut off and the meat will get rolled out, and that leg meat has some of the most flavor in the lobster. That's going to go into your bisques and raviolis. We'll sell that through wholesale. Your body is actually going to get crushed up, and that meat is extracted as well for pretty much the same purpose. It's just a great lobster flavoring. And the shells themselves will get dried and be used for anything from fertilizer to a natural pesticide to many other uses that that lobster shell can have. I would say I eat a few lobster rolls a week. I try not to eat them every single day because, you can't eat all your own product. But I'm still tempted after 10 years. There's no such thing as getting sick of lobster.